The lunch rush at Rosie's diner hit like a tidal wave every day at noon, and today was no different. Maya Torres moved between tables with practiced efficiency, balancing 3 plates on her left arm while refilling coffee with her right. Her feet ached in the cheap sneakers she'd bought from the discount store, but she kept smiling, kept moving, kept hoping for decent tips. Behind the counter, wrapped in a sling against her chest, 4-month-old Isabella slept through the chaos. The baby's tiny face was peaceful, her rosebud mouth making small sucking motions even in sleep. Maya had learned to work with her daughter strapped to her body after the daycare fell through and her last babysitter quit without warning. Her manager, Joe, had been surprisingly understanding. "Just keep her quiet and the customers won't complain," he'd said. So far, it was working. "More coffee here," called a businessman at table 7, not bothering to look up from his phone. Maya was already moving, pot in hand, her body on autopilot after 6 months of doing this same routine. Pour, smile, clear plates, take orders, repeat. Her back ached, her arms burned. But Isabella's formula cost $60 a week, and their studio apartment rent was due in 5 days. "Excuse me, miss. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you." An elderly woman at table 3 held up her empty water glass. Maya nodded, setting down the coffee pot to grab the water pitcher. As she turned, a man's voice cut through the diner's noise like a knife. "This is unacceptable. Completely unacceptable." The voice came from the corner booth, table 12. Maya's stomach dropped. Table 12 was her section. She'd seated them 15 minutes ago, 4 men in expensive suits. The kind who looked like they'd never eaten in a place like Rosie's diner in their lives. The kind who made her nervous. "I apologize, sir," Maya said, approaching quickly. "Is something wrong with your order?" The man who'd spoken was in his 50s, silver hair slicked back. His suit probably, worth more than Maya made in 3 months. He jabbed a finger at his plate. "I ordered my steak medium rare. This is medium well. Do you know the difference?" "I'll get you a new one right away," Maya said, reaching for the plate. "Don't bother." The man's voice rose higher. "This place is a dump anyway. Look at the floors. Look at that stain on the wall. And you have the audacity to serve me overcooked meat?" Heat crept up Maya's neck. Other diners were starting to stare. Isabella stirred against her chest, making a small whimpering sound. "No, baby, please. Not now." "Sir, I'm very sorry. Let me speak to the kitchen." "I don't want to speak to the kitchen," the man snapped, his voice climbing another octave. "I want competent service. I want—" Isabella began to cry. Not the quiet fussing Maya could sometimes soothe quickly, but real crying, the kind that came when she was startled awake. The sound cut through the diner like a siren. "Oh, for God's sake," the silver-haired man said. "Now there's a screaming baby? What kind of establishment is this?" Maya's hands shook as she tried to bounce Isabella gently while still holding her notepad. "I'm so sorry. Please, let me just— This is ridiculous." The man stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "First the food, now this? I'm calling the health department. You can't have infants in a restaurant kitchen." "She's not in the kitchen," Maya said, her voice small. "She's with me." "Exactly. And you're serving food with a baby strapped to you? That's unsanitary. That's— Please." Maya's voice cracked. She felt tears burning behind her eyes, the kind she'd promised herself she wouldn't cry at work anymore. "Please stop yelling. My baby's sleeping." Even though Isabella clearly wasn't sleeping anymore, even though the lie was obvious, the words tumbled out anyway. The man's face reddened. "I'll yell if I want to. I'm the customer here, and Enough." The single word came from the 4th man at the table, the one who'd been sitting with his back to the wall, saying nothing while his companions ordered. Maya hadn't paid much attention to him before, but now every eye in the diner turned his direction. He stood slowly, unfolding to his full height. Tall, probably 6'2", with dark hair and darker eyes. His suit was different from the others, simpler, perfectly tailored, but without the flash. There was something in the way he carried himself. Something that made the air in the room feel heavier. "Vincent." He addressed the silver-haired man without raising his voice. "Sit down." Vincent froze, his mouth still open mid-complaint. For a moment, he looked like he might argue. Then something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or fear, and he sank back into his seat without another word. The dark-haired man turned to Maya, His eyes swept over her face, then down to Isabella crying against her chest, then back up. His expression gave nothing away. "What's your name?" he asked. His voice was quiet, controlled. Somehow that made it more commanding than Vincent's shouting had been. "Maya," she whispered. "Maya Torres. Maya Torres." He repeated it like he was committing it to memory. "How old is your daughter?" 4 months. "And you work with her like this every day?" Maya's chin lifted slightly. "I don't have a choice." Something shifted in his expression, too quick to read. He reached into his jacket, Maya's breath caught, an irrational spike of fear, but he only pulled out a wallet. He extracted several bills and set them on the table. $100 bills. At least 5 of them. "For the inconvenience," he said. Then he looked at his 3 companions, all of whom had gone very quiet. "We're leaving." "But Dante, we haven't," one of them started. "Now." They moved immediately, standing in unison, abandoning their barely touched meals. Vincent kept his eyes down, his earlier bluster completely gone. As they filed past Maya toward the exit, the dark-haired man Dante paused beside her. "Your daughter has your eyes," he said quietly. "Beautiful." Then he looked directly at her, and Maya felt pinned by his gaze. "When does your shift end?" Why?" The question came out suspicious, defensive. "Because I'd like to speak with you. Somewhere quieter." He glanced at Isabella, who had stopped crying and was now hiccuping softly. "Somewhere better for her. I don't know you." "No. A ghost of something amusement? Respect?" touched his mouth. "You don't. But you will." He pulled out a business card, simple black with silver lettering. Just a name, Dante Carbone, and a phone number. "When you're ready." He left before Maya could respond, his companions trailing after him like a strange, silent parade. Through the diner window, she watched them climb into 2 black SUVs with tinted windows. Then they were gone, leaving only the money on the table and the card in her trembling hand. Joe appeared at her elbow, staring at the $100 bills. "What just happened?" Maya shook her head slowly. "I have no idea." But as she looked down at the card, at the name printed in elegant silver script, something cold slid down her spine. She'd lived in this city long enough to recognize certain signs: the expensive suits, the immediate obedience of grown men, the way Vincent had gone from furious to terrified with a single word: Dante Carbone. She knew that name. Everyone in the city did, even if they pretended not to. It was whispered in certain neighborhoods, mentioned carefully in certain conversations. It meant power. It meant danger. It meant Mafia. And he'd just given her his personal phone number. Maya's apartment was on the 4th floor of a building that had seen better days sometime in the 1970s. The elevator hadn't worked in 3 years. By the time she climbed the stairs, her legs burned and Isabella was fussing again, hungry and tired from the disrupted nap. "I know, baby. I know." Maya fumbled with her keys, her arms aching from carrying the diaper bag, her purse, and the 18-pound weight of her daughter. Almost there. The apartment door swung open to reveal all 400 square feet of home, a Murphy bed that pulled down from the wall, a kitchenette with 2 working burners, a bathroom with a shower that only gave hot water if you caught it at the right time of day. But it was clean. Maya made sure it was always clean. She'd painted the walls herself in soft yellow after Isabella was born, wanting something warm and sunny for her daughter to wake up to. She'd hung curtains from the second-hand store, cream-colored with tiny flowers. She'd made this place a home through sheer determination, even if it wasn't much of one. Maya settled into the worn armchair, her only real furniture, besides the Murphy bed, and began nursing Isabella. The baby latched on immediately, her small hand curling against Maya's chest, her eyes drifting closed in contentment. These quiet moments were Maya's favorite, when the world narrowed to just the 2 of them, when everything else, the bills, the exhaustion, the fear of what came next, faded away. Her phone buzzed. A text from her friend Lucia, who worked the night shift at the diner. "Girl, Joe said something crazy happened at lunch. You okay?" Maya typed one-handed. "Long story. I'm fine. Tell you tomorrow." But she wasn't fine. She was thinking about Dante Carbone, about the way he'd shut down Vincent with a single word, about the money he'd left $500. She'd counted after he left, more than she made in a week, about the way he'd looked at Isabella and said, "Beautiful." The business card sat on the tiny kitchen counter, mocking her. She'd thrown it there as soon as she got home, trying to forget about it. but it might as well have been glowing. When Maya's phone buzzed again, she almost dropped it. The number was unfamiliar. "This is Dante Carbone. I hope you made it home safely." Her heart slammed against her ribs. How did he get her number? She'd never given it to him. But even as the question formed, she knew the answer. Men like him could find anything they wanted to find. She should ignore it. Should block the number. Should pretend this afternoon had never happened. Her fingers moved anyway. "How did you get my number?" The response came within seconds. "I asked your manager. He was very helpful." Of course Joe had given it to him. Joe, who was 60 and had worked in this neighborhood long enough to know exactly who Dante Carbone was. Joe, who wouldn't dare refuse a request from someone like that. "What do you want?" Maya typed. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. When the message came through, it wasn't what she expected. "To help. If you'll let me. I don't need help from a stranger. Then let me stop being a stranger. Have coffee with me tomorrow. Bring Isabella. I know a place that welcomes babies." Maya stared at the message, her mind racing. Every instinct screamed that this was dangerous. That men like Dante Carbone didn't offer help without expecting something in return. That she should delete his number and forget he existed. But another voice whispered underneath the fear. The voice that remembered $500 sitting in her purse. The voice that calculated how many bills that would pay. How many groceries it would buy. The voice that was so tired of doing this alone. "Why?" she typed. "Why would you want to help me?" The response came immediately. "Because you said please. And because your daughter deserves better than to sleep through lunch rushes." Something in Maya's chest cracked open. She looked down at Isabella, now milk-drunk and sleeping against her. Completely trusting. Completely dependent. Maya's daughter did deserve better. Deserved everything. Her fingers moved before she could stop them. "There's a coffee shop on Maple Street. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'll be there. After that, no." More messages. Maya sat in the growing darkness of her apartment, Isabella warm and solid in her arms, and wondered what she'd just agreed to. She wondered if this was how it started. How ordinary people got pulled into extraordinary dangerous worlds. She wondered if her life was about to change forever. The answer, though she couldn't know it yet, was yes. Maya didn't sleep well. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Dante Carbone's face. The way he'd looked at Isabella. The way Vincent had gone silent with a single word. At 3 a.m, she gave up and did what she'd been avoiding all evening. She Googled his name. The results made her stomach drop. Dante Carbone wasn't just connected to organized crime. According to every news article, every whispered forum post, every carefully worded investigative piece, he was organized crime in this city. Head of the Carbone family. One of the most powerful operations on the East Coast. Legitimate businesses on the surface. Restaurants, construction companies, real estate, but everyone knew what lay underneath. There were photos. Him leaving courthouses, charges dismissed. Him at charity galas, looking elegant and dangerous in a tuxedo. Him shaking hands with politicians who would deny knowing him if asked directly. And there were the other articles. The ones about violence, about territory disputes, about people who'd crossed him and disappeared. Nothing ever stuck. Nothing was ever proven. But the pattern was there if you looked. Maya's hands shook as she scrolled. What was she thinking? Agreeing to meet him? What kind of mother put her daughter anywhere near a man like this? But then she looked at the eviction notice that had been slipped under her door yesterday. Final warning. 3 days to pay 2 months back rent or get out. She looked at Isabella sleeping in the bassinet beside the Murphy bed, at her daughter's perfect face, her tiny chest rising and falling. What kind of mother let her daughter end up homeless? The money Dante had left would cover 1 month's rent, but it wouldn't solve the bigger problem. The fact that Maya was drowning, that every day was a battle to keep her head above water, that sooner or later she was going to lose. Maybe that's what he'd seen in her face yesterday. The desperation, the exhaustion. Maybe that's why he'd offered help. Or maybe he saw something he could use. At 9:30 the next morning, Maya stood outside the coffee shop on Maple Street, Isabella in a carrier against her chest, wearing the only decent outfit she owned, jeans without stains and a sweater that wasn't threadbare. She'd brushed her hair, put on a little makeup to hide the circles under her eyes, tried to look like she had her life together. The coffee shop was called Perch, small and bright with big windows and mismatched furniture. The kind of place where young mothers brought their babies, where the baristas smiled at children instead of frowning. Maya had walked past it 100 times but never gone in. A single coffee here cost what she usually spent on a whole day's food. She was about to turn around, to text Dante that she'd changed her mind, when a black SUV pulled up to the curb. He emerged from the back seat, and Maya's breath caught. In daylight, Dante Carbone was even more striking than he'd been in the diner. The same dark eyes, the same controlled grace, but today he wore jeans and a black sweater instead of a suit. Still expensive, everything about him screamed money, but more approachable. Almost normal. Maya. He smiled, and it transformed his face completely. Made him look younger, warmer, dangerous in an entirely different way. Thank you for coming. I almost didn't, she admitted. But you did. He gestured to the coffee shop. Shall we? Inside, Dante ordered without looking at prices. 2 lattes, pastries, a fruit cup. When Maya tried to pay, he waved her off. They settled at a corner table, away from the other customers. Isabella, awake now, stared at Dante with solemn dark eyes. She's beautiful, Dante said, his voice softer than it had been at the diner. May I? Maya's arms tightened instinctively around her daughter. May you what? Hold her, if you're comfortable. Every article she'd read last night screamed at her to say no. But there was something in his expression, something almost wistful, that made her hesitate. Have you held a baby before? Not in a very long time. He met her eyes. But I'll be careful. I promise. Against her better judgment, Maya unstrapped Isabella and handed her over. Dante took the baby with surprising confidence, supporting her head properly, cradling her against his chest. Isabella stared up at him, then reached for his face with one small hand. Hello there, Dante murmured. Hello, beautiful girl. Something in Maya's chest twisted painfully. When was the last time anyone had helped her with Isabella? When was the last time someone had looked at her daughter with anything other than annoyance or indifference? You're good with her, Maya said quietly. I had a daughter once. The words came out soft, almost involuntary. Then Dante seemed to catch himself, his expression closing off. A long time ago. What happened? She died. He said it simply, factually, but Maya heard the grief underneath. She and her mother both. Car accident. 10 years ago. I'm so sorry. Dante looked down at Isabella, who had grabbed his finger and was trying to put it in her mouth. She would have been 14 now. Would have looked nothing like this, probably, but I think about her every day. They sat in silence for a moment. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with normal life. Young parents with strollers, college students with laptops, elderly couples sharing newspapers. No one looked at them twice. No one saw the Mafia boss holding a baby with infinite gentleness, or the struggling waitress trying to understand why he cared. Why did you want to meet me? Maya finally asked. Dante handed Isabella back carefully. Because yesterday, I watched a young woman trying her best in impossible circumstances, working herself to exhaustion, trying to provide for her daughter. And I remembered someone who did the same thing once. Your wife? My mother. He took a sip of his coffee. She raised me alone after my father died. Worked 3 jobs. I was about 8 years old, and I remember her falling asleep at the kitchen table still in her work uniform. I remember eating dinner that was just bread and butter because that's all we had. Maya's throat tightened. How did she manage? She didn't. Not really. Dante's voice was matter of fact. She got sick. Pneumonia that became something worse because she couldn't afford a doctor. By the time I was 16, she was gone. And then I made sure I would never be that powerless again. He met her eyes. I built an empire from nothing. I made myself into someone people feared, someone people respected, so that no one I loved would ever have to choose between medicine and rent. Maya absorbed this, understanding dawning. That's why you left the money yesterday. Partly. Dante leaned back in his chair. But also because I see myself in your daughter. I see what she'll become if she watches you work yourself to death. If she learns that the world is cruel and help never comes. Help always has a price, Maya said carefully. Yes. He didn't insult her by denying it. It does. So what's yours? Dante was quiet for a long moment, studying her face. Let me take care of your immediate problems. Your rent, your bills. Let me give you breathing room to figure out something better than working yourself to exhaustion with a baby strapped to your chest. In exchange for what? Nothing you're not willing to give. He held up a hand when she started to protest. I'm not asking for anything physical, Maya. I'm not asking you to compromise yourself. I'm asking you to let me help because I can. And because someone should have helped my mother but didn't. It sounded too good to be true. It had to be. But Maya looked at Isabella, thought about the eviction notice, thought about the formula she could barely afford, and the doctor's appointment she'd been putting off because the copay was impossible. I looked you up last night, she said quietly. I know who you are. What you do. Good. Dante's expression didn't change. Then you're not walking into this blind. The articles say you're dangerous. I am dangerous. To people who threaten me or mine. He leaned forward slightly. But Maya, I would never hurt a woman and child. That's not who I am. Whatever else I've done, whatever sins I carry, that's a line I've never crossed. How do I know that's true? You don't. Not yet. He pulled out a checkbook, an actual paper checkbook, and wrote something. He tore off the check and slid it across the table. But this is a start. Maya looked down at the number. $20,000. Her vision went spotty. I can't accept this. Yes, you can. It's enough to cover your back rent, catch up on bills, get you through the next few months while you figure out next steps. Consider it an investment. In what? In Isabella's future. In yours. Dante's voice softened. Maya, I'm not asking you to be part of my world. I'm asking you to let me use my resources to give you a chance at a better one. Maya's hands trembled as she picked up the check. $20,000. It would change everything. Would give her time, space, options. Would mean Isabella could see a doctor, could have formula that wasn't the cheapest brand, could have clothes that fit instead of hand-me-downs. But nothing was ever free. Not really. If I take this, Maya said slowly, what happens next? What do you expect from me? Dante considered the question. Honestly, I don't know yet. Maybe nothing more than this. Maybe the satisfaction of knowing I helped when I could. He paused. Or maybe, if you're willing, you let me be part of your life. And Isabella's. Not as anything more than a friend, just someone who cares what happens to you both. Why would you want that? Because my house is empty, Maya. Because I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and no one to spend it on. Because when I look at your daughter, I see the child I lost. And maybe that's selfish, but it's the truth. The honesty disarmed her. Maya had expected manipulation, pressure, hidden agendas, not this raw admission. I need to think about it, she said finally. Of course. Dante stood, pulling out his wallet. He set several more $100 bills on the table. For today, for whatever you and Isabella need. He looked at the baby, his expression softening. Take care of yourself, Maya Torres. Both of you. Then he was gone, leaving Maya alone with a check for $20,000 and more questions than answers. 3 days later, Maya stood in her landlord's office with a cashier's check. She'd cashed Dante's check at the bank, half expecting it to bounce, but it had cleared immediately. $20,000, real and solid. Her landlord, Mr. Patel, stared at the payment. This covers everything. Back rent, late fees, and 3 months forward. Yes. Maya's voice was steady even though her hands shook slightly. Is there a problem? No problem. But Mr. Patel looked at her differently now. Like she was someone who mattered. Someone with resources. No problem at all. Walking out of his office, fully paid up, with money left over in her bank account, Maya felt lightheaded. For the first time in 4 months, she wasn't behind, wasn't drowning. Isabella cooed from the carrier, and Maya kissed the top of her head. Things are going to be better now, baby. I promise. But that night, lying in bed, Maya couldn't stop thinking about the price of that promise. About what she might owe. About the man who'd given her breathing room but whose world was built on violence. Her phone buzzed. Dante. I hope everything went well with your landlord. She stared at the message for a long time before responding. How did you know I was seeing him today? Lucky guess? Or he was keeping tabs on her? The thought should have frightened her. Instead, it felt almost comforting. Like someone was paying attention. Like someone cared. Everything's fine. Thank you. Good. Sleep well, Maya. She did sleep well. For the first time in months. And if part of her mind whispered warnings about the cost of accepting help from dangerous men, she pushed those thoughts away. For now, Isabella was safe. They had a home, They had food and formula and breathing room. For now, that was enough. 2 weeks passed. Maya went to work, came home, took care of Isabella. Normal life, except she was no longer terrified every time a bill arrived. No longer calculating whether she could afford diapers or formula, but not both. Dante texted occasionally. Never pushy, never demanding, just checking in. How is Isabella? Is she sleeping better? I know a pediatrician who's excellent. If you ever need a recommendation, there's a mother's support group at St. Catherine's Church. Might be nice to meet other parents. It was almost domestic, almost like having a friend who cared. Then, on a Tuesday night, everything changed. Maya was leaving the diner after the dinner shift, Isabella asleep against her chest, when she noticed the man. He was standing across the street, watching her, not hiding it, just watching. Her blood went cold. She walked faster toward the bus stop. The man followed. Maya's heart hammered. She pulled out her phone, her fingers shaking so hard she could barely unlock it. She scrolled to Dante's number, hesitated, then pressed call. He answered on the first ring. Maya, what's wrong? There's someone following me. Her voice came out thin, frightened. I just left work, and there's a man. Where are you exactly? Corner of 5th and Brennan. By the bus stop. Stay in a public area. Don't get on the bus. I'm sending someone now. His voice was calm, controlled. 2 minutes, Maya. Can you give me 2 minutes? I don't know if... Look at the man. Does he see you on the phone? Maya glanced over. The man had stopped about 20 feet away, no longer approaching but not leaving either. Yes, good. He knows you're calling someone. That makes him less likely to approach. Dante's voice was steady, an anchor in her panic. Describe him to me. Tall, maybe 6 feet. Dark jacket, shaved head. He has a tattoo on his neck. I can't see what it is. Snake? Yes. How did you... I know who he is. Dante's voice hardened. He's not going to touch you. I promise. My men are 30 seconds away. Maya clutched Isabella tighter. The baby stirred, sensing her mother's fear. Dante, I'm scared. I know, but you're safe. Do you trust me? The question hung in the air. Did she? Should she? Yes, Maya whispered, and meant it. Then breathe. Count to 10, and watch. Maya counted. At 7, a black SUV screeched to the curb beside her. At 8, 2 men got out, both in dark suits. At 9, they positioned themselves between her and the man with the snake tattoo. At 10, Dante's voice came through the phone again. Get in the car, Maya. They'll bring you to me. To you? We need to talk. Now. The driver opened the back door. Maya looked at the 2 men, both watching her with neutral expressions. Looked at the man with the snake tattoo, who had started backing away. Looked at Isabella, still sleeping, trusting her mother to keep her safe. She got in the car. Dante's home wasn't what Maya expected. She'd imagined something cold, ostentatious. A mansion that screamed money and power. Instead, the SUV pulled up to a brownstone in one of the city's old neighborhoods. Elegant but understated, with flower boxes in the windows and a red door that looked like it belonged to a family. This way, Miss Torres, one of the men said, opening her door. Inside, the house was warm. Hardwood floors, comfortable furniture, walls covered in art that looked original but not pretentious. It felt lived in, loved. Dante appeared from a hallway, still in work clothes but with his sleeves rolled up. His expression was tight with concern. Maya, are you all right? I don't know. Her voice shook. Who was that man? Why was he following me? Come, sit. He gestured to a living room. Can I get you anything? Water? Tea? Answers. Maya sank onto the sofa, her legs suddenly weak. I want answers. Dante sat across from her, his elbows on his knees, his hands clasped. His name is Sergei Volkov. He works for the Petrov organization. They're rivals of mine. Why would your rivals be following me? Because they know I've been helping you. Dante's jaw tightened. Because they're trying to find my weaknesses, and they think you might be one. The words landed like stones. So this is my fault. Because I took your money. Because I let you into my life. This is not your fault. Dante's voice cut through her spiral. This is theirs. And mine, but not yours. What do they want? To send a message. to make me understand that anyone I care about is vulnerable. He met her eyes. Maya, I need to be honest with you. As long as you're connected to me, even loosely, you're at risk. And so is Isabella. The room seemed to tilt. Then I'll give you back the money. I'll cut all contact. It's too late for that. Dante's voice was gentle but firm. They've already seen us together. They already know. Disappearing now won't erase that. So what do I do? Maya's voice broke. She looked down at Isabella, still sleeping peacefully, unaware that her mother had just made a choice that put them both in danger. How do I keep her safe? Dante was silent for news. A long moment. Then he stood and walked to the window, looking out at the street. You let me protect you. Both of you. Really protect you. How? He turned back to face her. You move in here. Maya stared at him. What? This house has security. Guards. Cameras. No one gets in without my knowledge. You and Isabella would be safe here while I deal with the Petrovs. I can't just move into your house. I don't even know you. You know enough. Dante walked back to her, crouching down so they were at eye level. Maya, listen to me. The Petrovs are not subtle people. If they want to send a message through you, they will. And I cannot live with that on my conscience. Not after everything I've already lost. But I'd be trapped here, dependent on you. You'd be alive. And so would Isabella. His voice softened. I'm not asking you to give up your independence forever. Just until this situation is resolved. A few weeks, maybe a month. And then what? They'll just forget about me? No. Then I make sure they understand that touching you would be the last mistake they ever make. The coldness in his voice sent chills down Maya's spine. This was the other Dante. The dangerous one. The man people feared. I can't ask you to go to war over me. You're not asking. I'm offering. He stood, holding out his hand. Let me show you the rest of the house. Let you see where you'd be staying. Then decide. Maya looked at his outstretched hand. At Isabella sleeping against her chest. At the door that led back to her tiny apartment. Her precarious life. And now, apparently, danger she hadn't asked for. She took his hand. The house had 4 bedrooms upstairs. Dante showed her to the largest guest room, which overlooked a small garden in the back. It had a queen bed with a cream-colored comforter, a dresser, a chair by the window. Soft and feminine without being fussy. The bathroom is through there, Dante said, pointing to a connecting door. Full tub, good water pressure, and this, he opened a closet. Inside was a crib, still in its box. I had it delivered today, just in case. Maya's throat tightened. You were planning this before tonight. I was hoping it wouldn't be necessary. But yes, I was prepared for the possibility. Because you knew they might come after me. Because I know how these men think. Dante leaned against the doorframe. And because the moment I gave you that money, I accepted responsibility for your safety. I don't take that lightly. Maya walked to the window. The garden below was small but beautiful, lit by soft pathway lights. She could see roses, a small fountain, a bench under a tree. Peaceful. Safe. What about my job? She asked quietly. You'd have to quit, at least temporarily. I can't protect you if you're in public like that. I need to work. I can't just, I'll cover your expenses. All of them. Consider it payment for the inconvenience. Maya turned to face him. You're asking me to let you control my life. I'm asking you to let me keep you alive. Dante pushed off the doorframe. Maya, I understand this is not ideal. I understand you value your independence. But right now, your choices are limited. You can go back to your apartment, look over your shoulder every day, wonder when Sergey or someone like him will approach you again. Or you can stay here, safe, and let me handle this. By handling it, you mean? I will make it very clear to the Petrovs that you are under my protection, that any move against you will be considered an act of war. His voice was steel. And trust me, they do not want that war. Isabella began to fuss, making small, hungry sounds. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Maya automatically started swaying, soothing her daughter. Can I think about it? Just tonight? Of course. Stay here tonight at least. You and Isabella. The guest room is yours. In the morning, if you want to leave, I'll have my men take you home. Dante moved toward the door, then paused. There's formula in the kitchen, diapers in the bathroom, Everything you might need. I had my housekeeper stock it all this afternoon. You really were planning this. I was hoping. He met her eyes. There's a difference. After he left, Maya nursed Isabella in the comfortable chair by the window, looking out at the garden. Her phone buzzed with messages from Lucia, asking where she was, if she was okay. Maya didn't know how to answer. Was she okay? She was sitting in a Mafia boss's house, considering moving in, letting him wrap her in protection that came with invisible chains. But when she looked down at Isabella's face, peaceful and trusting, Maya knew she'd already made her choice. Some cages were gilded for a reason. Because the world outside was too dangerous. Because sometimes safety mattered more than freedom. She'd tell Dante yes in the morning. Would trade her independence for Isabella's security. Would walk into Dante Carbone's world knowing she might never fully walk back out. But her daughter would be safe. And for that, Maya would pay any price. Even if the cost was herself. Morning came too soon. Maya woke to sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows and a moment of panic before she remembered where she was. Isabella was still asleep in her arms, both of them having dozed off in the chair after the 3 a.m. feeding. A soft knock on the door. Miss Torres? A woman's voice. Older, kind. May I come in? Yes, Maya called softly, adjusting her shirt. The door opened to reveal a woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun. She wore simple clothes, slacks, and a cardigan, and carried a tray. Good morning. I'm Rosa. I keep house for Mr. Carbone. I brought you breakfast. She set the tray on the dresser. Coffee, fruit, eggs, toast. The smell made Maya's stomach growl. She'd been too nervous to eat dinner last night. Thank you, Maya said. You didn't have to. Mr. Carbone was very specific about making sure you were comfortable. Rosa smiled at Isabella. What a beautiful baby. How old? 4 months. Perfect age. Still small enough to carry everywhere. Rosa moved to the window, opening the curtains wider. Mr. Carbone is in his office if you need him. First door on the left downstairs. And if you decide to stay, I'll help you set up the crib and get whatever else you need. If I decide? Rosa's expression was knowing. He said you were thinking about it. But between you and me, dear, you've already decided. A mother always chooses safety for her child. It's what we do. After Rosa left, Maya ate mechanically, her mind racing. The older woman was right. She had already decided. The question now was what came next. She found Dante in his office, sitting behind a dark wood desk with a laptop open. He looked up when she knocked, and something in his expression softened. Maya, how did you sleep? Not much. She stepped inside, Isabella awake now and looking around with curious eyes. But that's normal for me. Coffee's in the kitchen if you need more. Rosa makes it strong enough to wake the dead. He closed the laptop. Have you made a decision? Yes. Maya took a breath. We'll stay. But I have conditions. Dante leaned back in his chair. I'm listening. First, I need to be able to leave. To go outside. I can't be completely trapped here. Agreed. With security, of course. But yes, you can leave. Second, I keep looking for work. Once this is over, I need to be able to support myself again. I won't be dependent on you forever. Also agreed. And third. Maya hesitated. You don't make decisions about Isabella without consulting me. She's my daughter. I'm grateful for your help, but I'm still her mother. Dante stood and walked around the desk. Maya, let me be very clear about something. I would never presume to replace you or override you when it comes to your daughter. Yes, I lost a child. Yes, being around Isabella brings me some peace. But she's yours. That's not negotiable. The sincerity in his voice made Maya's eyes burn. Okay, then yes, we'll stay. Thank you. He extended his hand. For trusting me. Maya shook it, his grip warm and firm. I'm trusting you with our lives. Please don't make me regret it. I won't, Dante said. And the weight of that promise hung between them like a vow. The first week was strange. Maya moved through the brownstone like a ghost, never quite comfortable, always aware she was a guest in someone else's space. Rosa helped her set up the crib, stocked her room with everything Isabella needed. Dante was often gone during the day business he didn't discuss but present for dinner most evenings. He never pushed, never invaded her space, but he was always there, a steady presence in the background. On the 8th day, Maya found him in the garden at dusk, sitting on the bench under the tree. She'd just put Isabella down for the night and found herself restless, unable to settle. "Is this seat taken?" she asked. Dante looked up, surprised but pleased. "It's yours if you want it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the fountain. The air was warm for early autumn, the roses still blooming. "Tell me about your daughter," Maya said quietly. "If you want to." Dante was silent so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, her name was Sophia. She looked nothing like Isabella, blonde hair, blue eyes like her mother. But she had this laugh. His voice softened, this incredible laugh that made everyone around her smile. How old was she? 4. Just starting preschool. She wanted to be a veterinarian because she loved animals. He pulled out his wallet, extracted a worn photo. A little girl with golden curls, gap-toothed smile, sitting on a man's shoulders. Dante looked younger in the photo, his smile genuine and unguarded. "She's beautiful," Maya whispered. She was everything. Dante's throat worked. Her mother, Caroline, and I weren't together anymore. We'd separated 6 months before the accident. But we were trying to co-parent, trying to do right by Sophia. He put the photo away carefully. They were driving to Caroline's mother's house. Drunk driver ran a red light. Caroline died instantly. Sophia held on for 3 days. Oh God, Dante. I sat in that hospital room and watched her slip away. 4 years old and fighting so hard to stay. But her injuries were too severe. His hands clenched. I couldn't save her. I had all this power, all this money, and I couldn't save my own child. Maya's hand found his without thinking. "I'm so sorry." That's when I understood my mother's desperation. Why she worked herself to death. Because you'd do anything, sacrifice anything, to keep your child safe. He looked at her. "That's why I'm helping you, Maya. Because I couldn't save Sophia. But maybe I can save Isabella." "You're not doing this to replace your daughter," Maya said carefully. "You know that, right? Isabella isn't Sophia." "I know." Dante squeezed her hand gently. "But that doesn't mean I can't care about her. About both of you." They sat together as darkness fell, hands still clasped, both carrying the weight of children they'd loved and lost and fought to protect. And Maya realized that somewhere in the past week, Dante had stopped being a stranger. He was becoming something else, something more complicated, something that felt dangerously like family. On the 10th day, Dante's phone rang during breakfast. Maya watched his expression change from relaxed to cold fury in seconds. "When?" he asked. "How many?" A pause. "I'm on my way." He ended the call and looked at Maya. "I need to go handle something. It might take most of the day. You'll be safe here. There are 4 guards outside, and Rosa's here." "What happened?" "The Petrovs made a move against one of my warehouses. It's just posturing, but I need to respond." He stood, adjusting his jacket. "Don't leave the house. Today, please." "Dante, I'll be fine." But something in his eyes said he wasn't certain. "Just stay inside. For me." After he left, the house felt too quiet. Maya tried to distract herself with Isabella, playing peekaboo, reading board books. But she couldn't stop checking her phone, waiting for updates that didn't come. At 2 p.m., Rosa brought her lunch and found Maya pacing. "He'll be fine, dear. Mr. Carbone always is." "How do you know?" "Because I've worked for him for 15 years. Through the worst times, and he always comes home." Rosa set down the tray. "He's careful, controlled. Not like some of the other men in his world. But something could still happen. Something could always happen." Rosa's voice was gentle. "But worrying won't change it. All you can do is be here when he comes back." Maya forced herself to eat, to feed Isabella, to act normal. But as afternoon bled into evening and Dante still wasn't home, fear coiled tighter in her chest. This was his world. Violence, danger, uncertainty. And by staying here, by accepting his protection, she'd stepped into it. So had Isabella. At 7 p.m., she heard the front door open. Male voices, low and urgent. Maya came downstairs with Isabella and found Dante in the hallway. His shirt torn, blood on his face. "Oh my God." She moved toward him without thinking. "You're hurt. It's not my blood." But he swayed slightly, and she saw the wince he tried to hide. "Liar. Sit down. Now." Maya used her mother voice, the one that brooked no argument. To her surprise, Dante obeyed, sinking onto the hall bench. She handed Isabella to Rosa. "Can you watch her? Just for a few minutes?" "Of course." Maya knelt in front of Dante, examining his face. A cut above his eyebrow, swelling along his jaw. His knuckles split and bleeding. What happened? The Petrovs were waiting for us. It got ugly. He caught her hand when she reached for his face. Maya, I'm fine. You're bleeding all over your expensive floor. She stood. Bathroom. Now, let me clean you up. In the downstairs powder room, Maya wet a washcloth and carefully cleaned the blood from Dante's face. He sat still, watching her with an expression she couldn't read. This might sting, she warned, dabbing antiseptic on the cut. He didn't flinch. I've had worse. That doesn't make it better. Maya's hands were shaking slightly. You could have been killed. But I wasn't. This time. She met his eyes. What about next time? What happens to Isabella if you die protecting us? What happens to me? That won't happen. You can't promise that. Her voice broke. Dante, I can't. I can't watch someone else I care about die. I can't. The words hung between them. Someone else I care about. Dante's hand came up to cup her face. Maya, don't. But she didn't pull away. Don't make promises you can't keep. I can promise I'll fight like hell to come back. Is that enough? Maya closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. It has to be. When she opened her eyes, Dante was looking at her with such intensity it stole her breath. For a moment she thought he might kiss her. For a moment she thought she might let him. Then Isabella cried from the other room, breaking the spell. I should. Maya stepped back. Yes. Dante's hand fell away. Go. I'm fine now. But as Maya left to get her daughter, she knew nothing was fine. Because somewhere between accepting his protection and cleaning his wounds, she'd started caring about Dante Carbone in ways that went beyond gratitude. And in his world, caring about someone was the most dangerous thing you could do. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Dante's bloodied face, kept imagining worse scenarios. What if he hadn't come home? What if the Petrovs had killed him? At midnight, she gave up on sleep and went downstairs for water. Light showed under Dante's office door. She knocked softly. Come in. He was at his desk, shirt changed, face cleaned, a glass of whiskey in his hand. He looked exhausted. Can't sleep either? Maya asked. Too much adrenaline. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit, please. Maya sat, noticing the papers spread across his desk. Floor plans, photographs, documents she didn't understand. What are you working on? Figuring out how to end this. The Petrovs are escalating faster than I expected. He took a sip of whiskey. I need to make a decisive move. Soon. What kind of move? The kind that makes them understand attacking me has consequences. His voice was cold. The kind that ends wars. Maya shivered. Will people die? Probably. He met her eyes. Does that bother you? Yes. She didn't look away. But I understand it. That's what scares me. Dante set down his glass. Maya, you should know something. This situation with the Petrovs, it's bigger than I initially thought. They're not just probing my weaknesses. They're preparing for a full territorial war. Because of me? I'm one of many catalysts. But yes, you made them think I was distracted. Vulnerable. He stood and walked to the window. They were wrong. What are you going to do? What I have to. He turned back to her. But Maya, if things get worse, if I tell you to leave this house and go somewhere safe, you have to listen. No arguments. Where would I go? I have a property upstate, secure, isolated. Rosa would go with you. You'd have everything you need. And you? I'd stay here and finish this. Maya stood, moving to stand beside him at the window. You're planning for the worst. I always plan for the worst. It's how I've survived. He looked at her. But you need to promise me. If I tell you to run, you run. Don't wait. Don't argue. Just take Isabella and go. I don't want to leave you. The admission slipped out before Maya could stop it. Dante's expression shifted, something vulnerable breaking through his controlled exterior. Maya, he said softly, you shouldn't care what happens to me. Too late for that. They stood close, the city lights painting patterns on the floor between them. Maya could feel the heat of him, could count his heartbeats in the pulse at his throat. This is a bad idea, Dante murmured, but his hand came up to trace her jawline. I know. Maya's breath caught. But everything about this situation is a bad idea. If I kiss you now, it changes everything. It's already changed. Dante's thumb brushed her lower lip. Are you sure? Maya answered by rising on her toes and closing the distance between them. The kiss was soft at first, questioning. Then Dante's arms came around her, pulling her closer, and Maya melted into him. It had been so long since anyone had held her like this, since she'd felt anything but exhaustion and fear. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This is dangerous, he whispered. Everything about you is dangerous. Maya's hands fisted in his shirt. But I'm still here. Why? Why stay? Why care about a man like me? Because you stopped for Isabella when everyone else walked past. Because you've never made me feel less than. Because when you look at my daughter, you see someone worth protecting. Maya's voice cracked. Because maybe you're not as dangerous as you think you are. I am, though. Dante pulled back slightly. Maya, I've done terrible things. Things you don't know about. Things I can never undo. I don't care. You should, but I don't. She held his gaze. So what do we do about this? Dante was silent for a long moment. Then he said, We survive. We get through this war with the Petrovs. And when it's over, when you're safe. He cupped her face in both hands. We figure out what this is, together. Promise? I promise. Maya knew she shouldn't believe him. New promises from men like Dante were written in water. But standing in his arms, feeling the steady beat of his heart against hers, she let herself hope. Maybe they could survive this. Maybe they could build something real from the ashes of their broken lives. Maybe love could grow even in the darkest places. The next morning, reality crashed back in. Maya woke to raised voices downstairs. She grabbed her robe and hurried down with Isabella, finding Dante in the hallway with 3 men she'd never seen before. Don't care what it takes, one was saying. The Petrovs hit 2 more of our locations last night. We need to respond. We will. Dante's voice was ice. But strategically, not emotionally. They're making us look weak. Then we show them strength. Dante's gaze cut to the man. My way, understood? The men left, and Dante turned to find Maya watching. His expression softened slightly. I'm sorry you heard that. Is it true? They hit you again? Minor locations. No casualties. They're testing me. He ran a hand through his hair. Maya, I need to go out again today. Handle some things. It's not safe. It's necessary. He moved closer, his voice dropping. About last night. Don't. Maya held up a hand. Don't apologize for it. I wasn't going to. Something almost like a smile touched his mouth. I was going to say I haven't stopped thinking about it. Heat flooded Maya's cheeks. Oh, but I can't. Dante stopped, frustrated. Until this situation is resolved, I need to focus. And I need you safe. Can you understand that? Yes. Though it hurt. Though she wanted to pull him back to her. Just come home in one piece. Always. He pressed a kiss to her forehead, then to Isabella's. Watch over your mama for me, little one. After he left, Maya tried to distract herself. She played with Isabella, helped Rosa with laundry, attempted to read, but anxiety gnawed at her constantly. At noon, her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Maya Torres? A man's voice, accented. We need to talk. Who is this? A friend. Someone who can help you. Ice slid down Maya's spine. I don't need help. But you will. The voice was soft, almost kind. When Dante Carbone gets himself killed in this foolish war, what happens to you and your baby? You think his people will protect you? You think they'll care? I'm hanging up. Wait. The voice sharpened. I'm offering you a way out. Safety. Money. A future. All you have to do is leave. Tonight. Take your daughter and go. Who are you? Someone who believes in choices. Someone who thinks you've been pulled into a world you don't belong in. A pause. The Petrovs don't want to hurt you, Maya. We want you out of the line of fire. But, if you stay with Carbone, we can't guarantee your safety. Or your daughter's. The threat was clear despite the gentle delivery. Maya's hand tightened on the phone. I'm not leaving. Then you're a fool. The voice lost its kindness. And fools die alongside the men they love. Think about that. The line went dead, Maya stood frozen, phone clutched in her shaking hand. They had her number. They knew her name. They knew about Isabella. When Dante came home that evening, she told him everything. He listened without interruption, his face growing darker with each word. "Alexei Petrov," he said when she finished. "Head of their organization. He called you personally." "What does that mean?" "It means they're scared. Scared enough to try to remove you from the equation peacefully." Dante's jaw clenched. "It also means they're tracking you more closely than I thought. I should leave. Go to that property upstate like you said." "No, Dante. If you leave now, they win. They prove that threatening you gets results." He took her hands. "Maya, I'm not letting them drive you away. Not when I can protect you here. You can't protect me from everything." Instead, Maya felt the walls closing in. This was escalating beyond control. Soon, someone would die. Maybe multiple someones. And she had no idea how to stop it. 3 days later, everything came to a head. Maya was in the garden with Isabella when she heard the explosion. A deep boom that shook the ground, followed by car alarms and screaming. Rosa appeared at the back door, face white. "Inside. Now." Maya ran, clutching Isabella. In the living room, 2 of Dante's men were on phones, speaking rapidly. Through the front window, she could see smoke rising several blocks away. "What happened?" Maya demanded. "One of our restaurants," the taller guard said. "Bomb. Mr. Carbone was supposed to be there for a meeting." Maya's vision went spotty. "Was he? We don't know." The next hour was the longest of Maya's life. She sat on the couch with Isabella, numb, while phones rang and men came and went. No one would tell her anything concrete, just, "We're trying to confirm," and "There's a lot of confusion." When the door finally opened and Dante walked in alive, whole, only a smudge of soot on his face, Maya's legs gave out. He caught her before she fell. "I'm here. I'm okay." "The bomb," they said. Maya couldn't form sentences. "I was running late." The meeting location got changed at the last minute. His arms tightened around her. Pure luck. How many people were there? In the restaurant? Dante's expression closed off. 7 dead, 12 injured, most of them civilians. Maya felt sick. "Oh God, this is over." Dante's voice went hard. "The Petrovs just crossed a line they can't uncross. Civilians, children, no more games. What are you gonna do? End this. Tonight." He pulled back to look at her. "Maya, I need you to pack a bag. You and Isabella are leaving. Now." "But you said..." "I know what I said, but that was before they bombed a restaurant in the middle of the day. Before they killed innocent people." His voice cracked slightly. "Before I realized how close I came to never seeing you again. Dante, please." He cupped her face. "Please do this for me. Go. Upstate with Rosa. Stay there until I call you. Let me finish this without worrying about you." Maya looked into his eyes and saw real fear. Not for himself, for her, for Isabella. "Okay," she whispered. "But you have to promise me something. Anything. Come back. However you do it, whatever it takes, you come back to us." Dante kissed her then, hard and desperate. "I swear it." Within an hour, Maya was in an SUV with Rosa and 2 guards, Isabella asleep in her car seat, watching the city disappear behind them. She didn't know what would happen next, didn't know if Dante would keep his promise. All she knew was that somewhere in the past few weeks, she'd fallen for him. Completely, impossibly, dangerously. And now she had to wait and hope that love was enough to bring him home. The upstate house was beautiful in a way that felt cruel. Stone and glass overlooking a lake, surrounded by pine trees that whispered in the wind. Safe, isolated, peaceful. Maya hated every second of it. 3 days passed with no word from Dante. Rosa tried to distract her with cooking, with walks around the property, with stories about Dante as a younger man. But Maya barely heard any of it. She just held Isabella and waited. On the 4th morning, her phone finally rang. Dante's number. "Hello?" Her voice cracked. "It's over." He sounded exhausted. "The Petrovs' Alexei is dead. His brother fled to Moscow. The rest surrendered." Maya's knees buckled. She sat heavily on the couch. "Are you hurt?" "Nothing serious. Some bruises. But Maya, I need you to know something." He paused. "What I did to end this, I'm not proud of it. There was violence, blood. I became the man you should probably fear. I don't care. You should, but I don't. Maya's voice strengthened. I just care that you're alive, that you kept your promise. Silence. Then so quiet she almost missed it. I love you. The words hit her like lightning. Maya closed her eyes, tears spilling over. Say it again. I love you, Maya Torres. You and Isabella both. And I know it's too soon. I know I have no right after pulling you into this nightmare, but it's true. It's not too soon. Maya was crying openly now. And you have every right because I love you too. Somehow, impossibly, I love you. Come home, Dante said. Please come home. 2 days later, Maya stood in the brownstone's doorway, Isabella on her hip, looking at Dante. He had bruises on his face, stitches above his left eye, and the most beautiful smile she'd ever seen. You're really here, he whispered. We're really here. Dante pulled them both into his arms, and Maya felt something settle in her chest. This man who'd stopped at a diner when her baby cried. Who'd given her money without asking for anything. Who'd gone to war to keep them safe. What happens now? She asked against his chest. Now? Dante pulled back to look at her. Now we build something real. A life. A family. If you'll have me. I'm a waitress with a baby and no prospects. You're the woman I love. And Isabella is already mine, in every way that matters. He looked down at the baby, who was reaching for his face. If you'll let me, I want to be her father. Want to be your partner. Want to give you both everything you deserve. Maya thought about her tiny apartment, her exhausting jobs, her lonely struggle. Then she looked at this house, this man, this chance at something better. Yes, she said simply. Yes to all of it. Dante kissed her softly, carefully, like she was something precious. Isabella giggled between them, grabbing both their faces. She approves. Maya laughed through tears. Smart girl. Dante kissed Isabella's forehead. Takes after her mother. 6 months later, Maya stood in the brownstone's garden, watching Dante push Isabella on the new swing set he'd installed. Her daughter, their daughter now, legally adopted, squealed with delight, her dark curls bouncing. Higher, Daddy, higher. Maya's heart swelled. Isabella had started, calling him Daddy 3 months ago, unprompted. Dante had cried. Not too high, Maya called. She just ate. I know what I'm doing, Dante protested, but he slowed the swing anyway. Rosa appeared with lemonade. Beautiful day. It is. Maya accepted the glass. Rosa, can I ask you something? Of course, dear. Did you know? When I first came here, did you know Dante and I would end up like this? Rosa smiled. I knew he needed someone. And I knew you needed safety. The rest? She shrugged. Love finds a way, even in the darkest places, especially in the darkest places. That night, after Isabella was asleep, Maya and Dante sat in their bedroom. She'd moved into his room 2 months ago, talking about the future. I'm enrolling in online classes, Maya said. That dental hygienist degree I never finished. That's wonderful. Dante pulled her closer. I'm proud of you. And I want to work at the community kitchen downtown. The one you fund. Not for money, just to help. You never stop giving, do you? I remember what it was like to have nothing, to be invisible. Maya looked at him. I never want to forget. Never want Isabella to forget that we help people because we can, not because we have to. You're making me a better man, Dante said quietly. You were already good. You just needed someone to see it. They lay in comfortable silence, and Maya thought about that day in the diner, the moment her life changed, when a man stopped yelling and another man decided she mattered. Dante? Thank you for stopping. That day at the diner, for caring about a crying baby and an exhausted waitress. He turned to face her. Thank you for letting me love you. Both of you. You gave me a reason to be more than what I was. We saved each other, Maya said. Yes. Dante kissed her softly. We did. And in the room down the hall, Isabella slept peacefully, dreaming of swings and laughter, never knowing that her life had started with desperation and danger. Only knowing love, safety, and the fierce devotion of two people who'd found each other in the chaos. Some stories began with violence, but they could still end with grace. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you loved this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See See you in the next story.